Tell me, do we have time for another number?
Oh, I think so, Jimmy. What tone do you have in mind?
Welcome back, listeners, to Drinking Matters, the show where we talk about any topics with a drink in hand. I'm your host, Brian, and with me is a special co-host who I greatly appreciate being on the show with me. You want to go by Andie or Andrea?
I'll go by Andie.
By Andie, because apparently I don't know how to properly say your name because there's always a different diction to go with it.
I don't even know how to pronounce my name.
Long story to that. But no, thank you very much for recording the show with me today. So I've already kind of explained to you what I want to talk about, and it's a topic that has been on my mind for the last couple of days. It kind of strongly came to me the last couple of days, mainly because we've been using these things a lot recently, especially since we've been locked in our homes with nothing to do. Yeah. And this idea is streaming services. We've been using them daily, constantly, to a point where we don't even think about it. We have Netflix, YouTube TV, Spotify, all these services that we pay for that we automatically put on and we don't even think about it.
Yep, we just have it. It's just there.
To kind of, well, I'll put it this way. Do you even think about how much money you spend on streaming services?
No.
Not at all.
Not really.
It's just there, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because I'm on that same boat and I recently started to think about it. Mainly because I've been wanting to add more streaming services to my already clustered amount of streaming services that I have. With HBO, what is it, HBO Now or HBO Max that's coming out within like the next month or so. I've been wanting to add more, and it hit me, can I even afford any of this stuff right now? So I want to ask you, because I kind of made a little short summary of the streaming services that I use. I use Spotify, I use YouTube TV, Netflix, sometimes Hulu. What streaming services do you use?
Honestly, right now, one of the services that I use is YouTube TV a lot, just because it has a lot of variety in TV shows. Netflix, especially if I'm watching a show that everybody's talking about. I still haven't gone to it, but I will watch, what is that one called? The Tiger King.
Oh, Tiger King?
I want to watch it. I haven't had time to, but I'll watch it because everyone's talking about it. I'll watch Hulu to watch some animes or Handmaid's Tale. It just depends on what show intrigues me that I'll use different services, but I won't use it. Like, I won't use all, like, I don't know, what, 5 or 6 that we have. I'll use, like, just the one and just kind of commit to, like, the one show that I'm watching. So I'm not watching, like, oh, I'm going to go watch Netflix now or Hulu. And then now I'm going to watch YouTube TV or whatever. It just depends on what show I'm dedicated at the moment. I'll go ahead and watch. Or use the streaming service.
Okay. So before we move on with any of the conversations, I want to clarify to our listeners, we share the streaming services because we do live together. So right now we share Netflix, Spotify. No, we don't share Spotify, excuse me. We share Netflix, Hulu. We share Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. What's the other one? Amazon Prime.
Yep.
YouTube TV.
Yep.
I guess YouTube Premium, even though it's only on my account.
Mm-hmm.
What else are we missing? I think that's about it.
Yeah, we don't have that many. I know you just downloaded that
WWE. Yeah, but it's on a free month trial, so it depends. Do I really want to keep it afterwards?
Yeah.
Maybe it depends. There's a lot of stuff to watch, so I don't even know. But those are the main ones. Those are the main ones we use, and we do share them. We do kind of, we share those accounts. So combined total spending wise, what do you think that we spend on all those streaming services? Give an estimate, like the first number that pops in your head.
Okay, I want to say about $100.
About $100 total.
Yeah.
That's a high number.
Well, given that YouTube TV is already $50.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so I even forgot. That shows, like, it proves my point at the beginning. Like, you don't even think about how much money you actually spend with all these streaming services. So YouTube TV is $50, right? Netflix right now is $12.99, $13. So that's already $63.
Right.
Plus Hulu, which is bundled with my Spotify, that's another $13. So now we're in the realm of $76. We have
Disney Plus. We're not paying.
Disney Plus. We're not paying for because we do have that Verizon thing, and that's the whole bundle thing. We'll get to the whole point afterwards, like that whole thing about Disney Plus. So about $75 so far. What else? Amazon Prime is $110 for the year services.
Yeah.
Okay, but I kind of don't want to put that on that that total, just because I have my own kind of idea to go with Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a little under in total, a little under $100.
Hey.
Yeah, right. It's a little under, a little. If the price is right, if we were playing the Price is Right, you went over. You got knocked out. But you know what? Okay, we'll take it. A little under $100 total. But it goes to show, like, you don't think about how much money you're actually spending until you start putting all these things together, which brings up the question. Streaming services was supposed to be the end-all killer to cable and satellite TV.
Right.
Because one of the biggest complaints that I remember maybe about 5 years back was that people were complaining about how much you had to pay for cable and satellite, and you were given, 200 channels or so that were complete nonsense sometimes. So you would be spending $70 to $100 on 50 channels that maybe you'd watch, if anything.
Not even.
I mean, the average household, because I would be dominating the sports networks.
Oh, okay.
So that's already like, consider this: ESPN, ESPN1, ESPN3. You've got their NBA channels. You've got Fox Sports 1. Like, the list can go on, and I can name you 15 channels right there for sports.
Yeah.
And then I would be watching stuff like Cartoon Network or BBC America, TBS, all these different things. So one person could essentially be watching 20 to 25 channels. And depending on who is in the household, you'd be having more variety right there. So you'd be using about maybe 50-ish channels out of the 200 plus channels that were in the package, right?
Yeah.
So this whole argument was that streaming services was going to be the killer of cable and satellite TV, because you'd be paying a way smaller fraction for these services and be watching these things a lot more. But is that the case now, especially with how many streaming services are available? Personally, I don't think so. And I feel like people don't really think about it as much. So one of the things that I think about when I look at these streaming services is, and we've talked about this before, what if these services were bundled together? Like Hulu and Spotify. You have those two services bundled for a really low price. And those are two services that most people use a lot, because you want to watch TV or you want to watch a movie, you have Hulu. But if you're out on a run or on a drive or something, you have Spotify to listen to your podcasts or music. By the way, I managed to get this podcast on Spotify. So if you're listening on YouTube, podcast is now on Spotify. Little insert right there. But yeah, so you get what I mean though, right?
Yeah.
It's bundled in. And so you start to think about, well, why aren't these other, services bundled?
Yeah, I think now I feel like now it's more like a competitive kind of thing. You have all these different kind of like streaming services, but one of the things that I have noticed when it comes to them, they have to have a really good show in order to bring in that crowd. Because when I first started, let's say with Netflix, the thing that first got me into Netflix was Doctor Who. Because I watched this YouTuber and he would talk about Doctor Who, and I'm like, well, how the heck am I gonna watch Doctor Who? And then one of my friends was like, hey, well, there's Netflix. And so I started, we all shared like this one account. I don't know whose account it was, but it got annoying because you could only watch I think 3 people at a time could watch it. Otherwise, it would not let you watch it. So I got annoyed. I was like, you know what? I think at that time I started working. So I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and just get Netflix. At the time, it was I think $6.99. So that kind of brought me in. And now I think they also had Friends. They had The Office. They had Parks and Rec. And the cool thing about it was that you could watch it whenever. It wasn't like TV where you had to wait for a show to be on at 8 o'clock, So, but now you have all these different streaming services, and I don't know the technicalities of like how they attain like certain shows, but like for example, now Friends left, and I think The Office is did
The
it already
Office
leave?
is there still until NBC launches their full-on streaming service.
I see.
Yeah.
So that those kind of big shows are the ones that are bringing in their or I guess you would call it subscribers or
Hmm.
people that are getting these services, the streaming services. Um, it's just a big old competition now of shows, and it's whatever. If they have really good content worth enough to get me to buy into these services, then I will go ahead and do it.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that it's just a variety. It just depends on what you want to commit to.
Hmm. Well, keep in mind that Netflix didn't start out. So most of these streaming services didn't have original shows.
No.
Nowadays, these shows or these streaming services, excuse me, they need to have original content. So you have Netflix originals, you have Hulu originals, Amazon Prime has their originals as well. So now in current times,
Mm-hmm.
these streaming services need original content. But back then, Netflix was only movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
Very rarely did it have shows that would air on TV and then be put on Netflix a couple hours afterwards. It's kind of funny because this just came up to me right now and I just remembered it. The show Blue Mountain State, when it was premiering on MTV, I think it would premiere on Wednesdays on MTV, and then literally the next day, the new episode would be placed on Netflix. The show
Oh.
wasn't really that big of a show that it needed to advertise itself like, oh guys, watch Netflix and you have Blue Mountain State, because if you're a fan then you can watch it here and pay the money for our services. It wasn't like that kind of thing. Oh wow, okay. That I'm sorry if there is background noise. We're recorded by a window. There's really nothing we can do. But anyways, going back from that, excusing the honking, um, it wasn't the show that Netflix wanted to advertise as like, oh, this show here is the reason why you should buy it. But it was like a nice gimmick at the time. So if you really were invested in Blue Mountain State but didn't have the ability to watch the show because you didn't have cable, Netflix was your option. You had that ability to watch the show the next day. And so I feel like that ended up being a great factor into why people were intrigued by these streaming services, because what, a couple years back, maybe 4 or 5 years back, Netflix started to introduce their original series.
Yeah.
And now 2020, all of a sudden you have these big shows that are on Netflix, huge, like Academy Award nominated and winning TV series on Netflix. This stuff we wouldn't have thought of years ago. But now when we see it, it's kind of like a normal thing. So it makes these streaming services much more worthwhile, because now you kind of have to have these services if you want to be entertained yourself with TV. I mean, you still have like things like YouTube TV on the side. Let's put that away for a minute and just focus mainly on like Netflix and Hulu. Um, these original shows are the reasons why you or anybody else, excuse me, would purchase a membership for Netflix, right?
Yeah, because of like the popularity of certain shows. So like right now Netflix, they have Stranger Things. They have
Sabrina.
oh yeah, Sabrina.
Castlevania.
Oh, that's right. I can't think of all these other shows, but they have a lot that intrigues other people. Hulu has Handmaid's Tale.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think. I know Amazon Prime's not really part of it, but Amazon Prime has the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Like those are big shows that you hear about people talking. It's like, oh well, I want to watch it, so you either have it or you're gonna go ahead and get it because you want to be into like what everybody is talking about. And I think the cool thing, I mean, from what I kind of noticed with these new original shows, I think it just gave the creators or the writers of these shows to have different, maybe more freedom than they would at a TV network. And maybe that's why those shows are so successful, because they're able to be a little bit more creative. Maybe they're not as restricted and so they took a chance or a risk, and here they are. And that's why they're getting those subscribers.
Yeah, exactly. That you actually bring up a really good point, is that, a lot of these streaming services were outlets for a lot of creators to essentially create their own content without necessarily being restricted or confined by network television restrictions.
Oh, or comedians too. They
Comedians.
have their originals on Netflix.
Exactly. So what, back then, if you wanted to release a special, it'd be what, on Comedy Central?
Yeah.
And then it would be taped and kind of edited to what Comedy Central wanted.
Yep.
Netflix puts up these these comedic specials, and they're able to do it a lot more frequent because Netflix is willing to throw the money out there.
Yeah.
But you do bring up a good point that these streaming services do provide a lot of original content, and through the buttload of it, in, and their original content isn't even restricted by that much. You don't have to be. A lot of these shows aren't really politically correct. They try to appeal to an audience of that streaming service, yes. But when you consider shows like that are NBC or on Fox, you can tell that there's an agenda there. You can tell that not every show is going to perfectly fit within that network's agenda. And these streaming services are able to provide that freedom for a lot of these creators.
Yeah.
With this in mind, I feel like this question, even though it kind of feels like, oh yeah, well, why not everything? If you were to pick these at least three major streaming services, because you had to give them up all, everything else, only three that you can keep, which ones would they be?
Netflix, Hulu, and wait, what would you also include, like
any streaming service?
Okay, Amazon Prime, Hulu, and Netflix.
Okay, so why exactly would you keep those three?
Because they have shows that intrigue me. They have more complicated plots.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not a popular opinion, but I wouldn't keep Disney Plus because it doesn't have those same kind of like either shows or movies that have a very complicated plot that I like to watch. If it's very simplistic, I have very short term of like paying, what is that called? Not being able to pay attention.
Short attention span?
Yeah. So if like a Disney show or movie, I'll just kind of have it in the background. And even if I have it in the background, I'm doing something else, I could be distracted and already know the plot of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I'm watching a show or a movie in either of those three that I said, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime because I love Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's because I have to actually sit and actually pay attention to what I'm watching, because otherwise, and that's what makes it worthwhile for me, because if they're able to stir my emotions and make me think and make me like angry or make me, I don't know, it just has to give me a lot of feelings. And in order for me to enjoy it, then they have to give those shows that are available to me have to give me that. That's what would make it worthwhile for me.
So for you, your incentive to have a streaming service is their original content more than anything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you've noticed, a lot of these streaming services have gimmicks if it's not original content. And that's why earlier I said that I didn't want to include Amazon Prime into this kind of group, because Amazon Prime is a completely different thing. I feel like Amazon Prime is a contender and it's a competitor.
I think it's trying to start it.
No, it's done it.
I mean, it's done it, but for it to have like it's part of the whole having the Amazon Prime, like being an Amazon Prime member. But we don't know. What if like in the back they have all these shows, or it could be a gimmick to like try to get more people in for a different reason rather than just, being able to have the perks of like, free shipping or next day shipping or whatever.
Yeah.
But they have good stuff.
So that's why Amazon isn't necessarily I wouldn't want to put it in the same group as everything else, because Amazon has gimmicks that are completely different than Netflix and Hulu. Whereas Netflix and Hulu, their only incentive for you to actually subscribe to them is the original content. Amazon Prime offers the free shipping, Amazon Music, they have their original content and shows and TVs that they have. They have all these different services combined with your $110 yearly payment. Yeah. So most people, it's kind of funny because Amazon Prime, when I first had it and they started having this Amazon Prime Video stuff going on in the background, I didn't care. I paid for 2 years and only cared about their shipping rates because I was addicted to it at the time. But now,
At the
at
time.
the still kind of
Still.
now, but nowadays when I look at the $110, it's like this is pretty worthwhile for me because as a shopper of Amazon Prime, a frequent shopper of Amazon Prime, I am, enjoying the perks of getting Prime shipping, but I'm also enjoying the perks of seeing their original content. Marvelous Miss Mabel, for example.
Oh yeah.
So that is a show that is on there, and
Wait, what about that other show? The car guys.
oh, oh man, what the original Top
Top
Gear,
Gear.
yeah, but
Top
it's not
Gear.
Top Gear, it's something else. But yeah, even them, like they
Yeah.
were brought in, and Amazon knows what they're doing. I'm sorry, but they know what they're doing because they got canceled by BBC in
I
America,
know.
and then Amazon just was like, "Hey guys, over here, we've got money, we've got Jeff Bezos' money. Come back over here." And then they brought him in. Oh,
Yeah.
it was World Tour, I think is what it was
Yeah,
called.
World Tour.
Something I don't know. Grand Tour, Grand Tour.
Oh yeah,
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 because it's
yeah.
Gran Turismo Grand Tour. That's how something I don't know. Watch me completely get this show name wrong, even though we're really confident that it's Grand Tour, and then we Google it and it's something else. But yeah, no, Amazon has these perks that come with the service, and so that's why I feel like it could be a competitor, but it's also not its competitor because it's way out of their league. Now, if we look at something else like Disney Plus, you've mentioned this before.
Yes.
Disney Plus is the newcomer to this. It's trying to be the Netflix and the Hulu, but for Disney stuff. I'm going to be honest. You already said what you think about it. Once this whole free year of Disney Plus is over, I don't want to purchase it. I probably will not subscribe to it. I'll consider the 70 something dollars for the yearly plan, but I'm not going to spend $7 a month just to have Disney movies if their content isn't really that good. Let's be honest. The only show that Disney had was The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
No one was really talking about anything else. And so that's what kind of freaks me out about Disney Plus is that you look at it and you know that behind the scenes, the executives are sweating. Oh, well, now that The Mandalorian's over, we're losing subscribers. We don't have a steady income of subscribers coming in to watch our content because what are you going to do? Are you really going to put on a Disney movie? Unless you are a diehard eat, breathe, and sleep Disney, you're not going to put a Disney movie on behind you and say, oh, yeah, no, totally. I'm going to watch this every single day. I'm going to just avoid Netflix and Hulu, and I'm going to put on The Little Mermaid 3 times a week because it is my goddamn favorite movie. No. Most people are not going to do that. There are people that are going to do that, but most people are not going to do that. So Disney Plus is one of those streaming services that I feel like for $6.99, if you're a mom with or a dad, a mom or a dad or a grandmother or whoever with kids and you want to put them in front of the TV and have them watch something, sure, you're going to be one of those subscribers. You're going to pay the $7 or the $70 a year. But for us, people that have to go to work or people that want to watch original content because we don't want to put the same stuff on repeat, we're probably not going to spend the money for Disney Plus. And so I feel like this new bar for streaming services is now set higher. I feel like 2020 onward, you're going to see these streaming services be the new form of TV, but better than before. 5 years ago, we were saying that streaming services is the new TV, but 2020 is going to be streaming services is the new version of TV, but it has to be better. We pay for YouTube TV, but I pay for YouTube TV because of sports, not because I'm interested in watching the Food Network and I need to watch it, or because I need to have TBS to watch reruns of Friends. No, if I wanted any of that stuff, if I wanted to watch reruns of Friends, I'll pay for HBO Max. If I wanted to watch The Big Bang Theory, I'll pay for CBS All Access. There's no need for you to pay for any of this stuff unless you're dedicated to watching something specific. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's going to be bigger and better, and Netflix is already starting to do that. So we're already addicted to Sabrina. We're addicted to Castlevania. Really
good show.
Yeah, so we're already addicted to these shows, and so you're going to see These streaming services up their game and put more things out there. HBO Max, that's why you're having a rebrand. That's why you're seeing this network have a rebranding, because they don't want to just be known as the app to rewatch Game of Thrones or Westworld. They want to be known as the network to produce their original content. Instead of purchasing HBO as a package plan for your TV, HBO Max is going to be the thing that you pay for to watch their original content. We're just like Netflix, guys. They're like the 50-year-old dude that had a mental breakdown and is trying to rebrand themselves. Except it's actually going to work, because who's not going to pay for HBO Max? If you're a Friends fan, you're going to have to pay for it.
Yep.
Because it's going to be on there, unless you own the DVD box set or the Blu-ray box set. But Friends fans are probably going to purchase HBO Max. And you have Westworld that's on season 3 right now. Game of Thrones. If you haven't purchased the Blu-ray thing, you're going to be watching it on HBO Max. And, you know, it's just, you have these streaming services build themselves up to a point where this is going to be our lives now, essentially. If you want a form of entertainment on TV, you have to purchase these streaming services, which kind of, at least for me, brings a fear, which is saturation. You're going to have a market that's oversaturated. Off the top of your head, name every other streaming network right now that exists that we haven't mentioned.
Well, I don't know. Because to me, the main ones are Hulu, Netflix. Right now, Quibi came out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of other ones.
You have Crunchyroll.
Oh, yeah.
You have Quibi, which you mentioned.
Right.
Rooster Teeth, if you're like a YouTuber kind of person that really like watching Rooster Teeth, like Red vs. Blue and like Funhouse and all those things. You have Rooster Teeth First, which is their kind of thing. WWE Network.
Oh, right.
You have Funimation streaming services. You have VRV. Like, it's an oversaturated market. Not only that, but video games are also getting into the streaming market as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, they are. It's kind of like a weird thing. I mean, it was weird maybe about 2 years ago, but now Xbox has that Xbox Game Pass. And then PlayStation has that PlayStation Now, I think is what it's called, where you're able to stream your games. You pay a monthly fee. Well, at least for Game Pass. I'll speak for Game Pass because I have that. You pay, I think it's like 10 or 15 bucks a month. You're able to download all these games and then play them on your Xbox or play them on your PC. And they switch out the library every now and then, but you don't necessarily own any of this content. You essentially just stream it, download it, and then you play it. And it's yours for the couple months that you have it.
Oh, it's kind of like, I don't know if you remember seeing this service or being mentioned on television, where you would be able to rent a game for like
Gamefly.
Okay, yeah, like
it's
that.
Gamefly.
Gamefly it's evolved.
But it's evolved because whereas Gamefly had you only have one game, you have access to the main library and you can play anything. Like right now, you've seen me. I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh,
I've been replaying it, but that's on Game Pass. But I also have the game Dead Cells, which is also on Game Pass. Now, actually, this brings me up to a question that I didn't even think about until right now. The whole topic about ownership.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of like struck to me. This is how natural streaming services are, which is kind of weird because, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been thinking about any of this stuff?
No.
But ownership, which is kind of like a big deal for a lot of people. It's the fact that like a lot of these streaming services, when you stream Netflix and you're watching a movie, I don't know, let's put the movie Tremors up there. I love Tremors. You haven't seen it, but I love that movie. But like Tremors, for example, right?
Yeah.
That movie's never going to just stay on Netflix. It has a time. It's gonna
go away.
It's gonna go away, right? So you don't own Tremors, the movie. We don't. Even though we pay for Netflix, we don't own it. Think of a movie that is on Netflix or on Hulu that you wish you had but you didn't.
Oh, a movie.
Isn't Jumanji on there? No, I'm thinking of something else.
I don't know. To be honest with you, it's weird. I don't really watch as many movies on Netflix or Hulu. I watch more shows. Mm-hmm. And if there is a movie, maybe I would have to have like, I don't know. I can't think of one. But I know like whenever I'm like, oh, I want to watch this or so and so. Like a couple weeks ago, I wanted to watch Shrek. Mm-hmm. And it was nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I kept looking, so I had to rent it on YouTube. I mean, I have it. I have the DVDs, but it plays really weird when you put it in.
It's an old format,
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
an
like
old format, so it doesn't look as clean.
uh-huh.
So, yeah, like those kind of movies. But I know at one point they were on Netflix, but then they just go away. And that is kind of like that whole Disney Vault thing. Remember, like, that I was talking to you about?
It was the fact
where
that Disney movies would be released out of the vault for a couple months and then go back in the vault.
a couple
And
years, it'd be 10 years. So
see, I never paid
it would
attention to any of that stuff.
incentivize people to buy it like right then and there. Like, all right, you guys, you better buy this, otherwise it's gonna go back in the vault. And now that it's kind of like you don't realize what you got. So right now, I don't think people realize what they got because they have all the movies that were in the vault on Disney Plus. Now that they're there, it's kind of like, I mean, they're there. I can just watch it whenever. But
So
I don't. I'm not like I gotta watch it like right now before it leaves because they literally have everything on there.
so
Everything.
so the concept of ownership doesn't matter to you then.
I mean it.
Because
If
consider this.
if I need it, if I really want it, then I gotta own it. But I mean, let's be honest. When was the last time that we opened a Blu-ray to go and watch?
Oh, I mean, we did it last year with
Last year.
I did for Independence Day on 4th of July, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was because Independence Day is not on any other streaming service. But think about it this way: the concept of ownership, because you don't even think about it now that we have these streaming services, and if a show or movie is on Netflix or Hulu or whatever,
Yeah.
you automatically put it on and say, "Oh yeah, no, totally, I can totally watch this," and you can watch it whenever because it's on there.
Yeah.
But what if you want to show your future kids Shrek, and you didn't have the DVD?
I just go on YouTube and rent it.
But what if that service didn't exist? You know what I mean? You don't
Oh,
physically
I see.
own the copy.
We're so into this whole like it's just easy.
It's-
It's easy. It's at the finger of our. It's at the end of our fingertips. We can literally, for example, if it's not on Hulu, it might be on Netflix, and if
Mhm.
it's not on either of those, it might be on Amazon Prime.
And
And if it's not on either of those, then I can just go on YouTube, rent it, and watch it.
But does the idea of ownership matter to you at all? That you cannot own a
Not-
physically copy?
Not really.
No.
It doesn't.
I feel like this is completely different for people that are show movie based compared to video gamers. Because when it comes to video
Oh.
gamers, for me, I grew up on games like Super Mario World, Super Mario Brothers 3, Yoshi's Island, things like that, right? Things
Yeah.
that I want to show my kids down the line and be like, yeah, these are the games that I grew up with. You know?
I see.
Right now I can play Yoshi's Island on Nintendo Switch using their streaming service, their Super Nintendo emulator streaming service that they have if you pay for their online feature. But I know that that's not going to be there forever because they've done it before with the Nintendo Wii and the Wii U. They've had these shows, or not these shows, excuse me, these games come out on their stores, and then once they stop supporting the system, they just cancel it there. If you
Yeah.
don't have that game on your hard drive, tough luck, you'll never be able to play it. And you know the way that you plug in certain things changes. You used to be porting in those, what is it, the AV connection cables or whatever, I don't know what it's called.
Those three
Yeah.
cables, the yellow, white,
And red.
Red.
But most of these TVs don't run that anymore.
Nope, you got HDMI's.
Exactly. You have HDMI's, you have display ports, you have all these different kind of like things now, and you can't really show these games off anymore unless you've had them before. So I think that for video gamers, the concept of ownership is a lot more closer to them because they want to have that game down the line and be like, yes, this is what I grew up with, and show it off to people. But when it comes to like movies and TV shows, you might not own Friends, but there's always going to be a service out there that's going to be able to show it off later. Oh, you've never seen Friends? Yeah, let me pull this episode up real quick on HBO Max. Oh, yeah, no, I have the digital copies on YouTube or whatever. You know, they're purchasable. They're able to be there. But that's the scary thing, is that because of it all being online, you have no physical ownership of it. Even put it this way. You said that, well, we can always rent it or buy it off of the Google Play Store.
Yeah.
But you don't own that copy.
True.
Yeah.
I guess I would have to really like love a movie to be able to be like, nope, I gotta own it. Like, for example, Gone with the Wind, I own it. I love that movie. and I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it was on Netflix at one point. But there are times where that movie, if I feel the need to watch it, I can just pop it in and watch it. But it would have to be it would have to mean a lot to me in order for me to actually own it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, now that you mentioned that too, with music and Spotify, we don't own those either.
We don't own the music.
But it's a good convenience. It's a great convenience.
The
Everything's
conveniency.
digital now. Like
Mhm.
that's what it is. Like I don't well, same goes for my favorite artist, which is Vanessa Carlton. I have to buy her stuff. Well, part of it for me is because I'm supporting the artist too. So that's why I would buy certain things. I think it's just supporting what I really love.
Mhm. So okay, so
That's when ownership matters to me.
good, because that kind of sets up that idea of what ownership means to some people.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
No,
until you kind of like.
That's what conversations do. They bring up new ideas. That's
Yeah.
the purpose of conversating. But yeah, because for me, ownership is more along the lines of, initially it's not. I didn't think about providing money to the people that helped create it. That wasn't the first thing on my mind. The first thing on my mind is, how do I share this idea with someone else down the line? Am I able to show off this to other people and tell them, yeah, this is what I grew up with. This is what I love to listen to 5 years or 10 years ago back. This is what I like playing. That for me is more important.
I feel like that's definitely a good reason too, though, to be able to own those kinds of things, because like I'm pretty sure there's parents out there that had like an N64 and have it, like they're like, oh, I'm definitely gonna show my kids. They try to, you boot it up and it just gives that nostalgia, like I want my kid to go through what I went through. That's pretty special. I didn't even think about that.
It's kind of like how my dad raised me on movies and stuff like that, because he wasn't a person. I mean, you're always going to have different ways of showing things off to kids or to someone else down the line, but my dad was not the biggest collector of movies, but he owned movies and objects that really mattered to him. So for him, having DVDs of Star Trek to be able to show to me was his way of sharing these things with me. He had ownership of these DVDs. And so for him, that meant something because he liked being able to support that show and the work that went behind it. We can see Star Trek now on Netflix. So yeah, I can show it off to some other people and be like, yeah, no, the original series, yeah, totally. Watch this episode at this time in the original series, and it's easily accessible there. But what if Netflix is not existent within the next 20 years?
So it's just kind of like, do you have doubt? Kind of like they can't guarantee that those shows or movies that meant a lot to you are going to be in those streaming services in the future.
I mean, business is business. You really have to consider the fact that Netflix, I mean, we all thought that Blockbuster and Hollywood Videos were going to be stores that were going to be around forever. And then Netflix came around and completely demolished it. Who's to say that Netflix isn't going to get demolished by another streaming service down the line? They're throwing money at original content like left and right.
I think it comes to keeping up with technology, because Netflix, they were doing that whole renting thing. I remember
they were.
Like,
they still kind of are. I think.
Are they really?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Look, I pay for
Netflix.
Netflix. I don't even think about it. I just pay the $12.99 every month and be like, take my money. I'm using it on my Xbox and PlayStation, and that's all that matters to me.
No, but I remember at one point, you could rent up to, I don't know how many movies, and they would send them to you.
It was a mail-in service kind of thing.
Or like Redbox. You could do that same thing with Red. Like whatever's new. I mean, it's a gamble because it's not always gonna have the movie that you want, but you can go there too. So they made it more accessible for people.
But it's the conveniency.
It's
the conveniency
and
that killed it.
And that's what technology does. So if these streaming services continue to be updated with like technology and making sure that they give that convenience, because that's the thing, that's what technology does, is to give convenience to your consumer. And if it no longer does, it could kill it. That could kill it, or if they don't have good enough content. if they don't have good enough content, then they're no longer a contender in this. Like they won't be. So like I said, a streaming service has to have really good content that grabs their viewers in, so that way they can influence each other, or well, the subscribers can influence each other to go ahead and make sure they subscribe to this streaming service, because like I said, it's what's in right now, or what are people craving to watch right now, what's I don't know, what's popular.
Exactly. I think if anything, you've proven to me, at least on your end, that conveniency matters to you more than ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of it.
It's part of it. So to you, it wouldn't matter if you own the copy of Shrek. It just matters that if it's convenient enough for you to pull it out somewhere to showcase it to someone.
Yeah.
You might not own it. And that's perfectly understandable, especially nowadays. We're constantly moving. We're not going to be at home 24/7 and pop in a DVD to watch a movie. How quickly can you turn on the TV? How quickly can you turn on the PlayStation? How quickly can you open up the app for Netflix to watch the things, or YouTube to get the movie? It's all conveniency. That makes 100% sense. I think that it's a small minority that talk about ownership and wanting to keep it. And as far as what appeals to you streaming service wise, it's their original content. You're not going to be buying their services if it's not going to provide something new for you to enjoy down the line.
Definitely.
Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So, I mean, that for me personally is kind of like the killer for a lot of these streaming services. I mean, would you agree that bundling up services would be beneficial, or no? If that's the case, because we all have Netflix, we all have Hulu, and we watch shows on Amazon Prime, and they're original shows that we're hooked on. I have Netflix because I like watching Castlevania and Sabrina whenever the show comes on, and for Fuller House too.
Oh,
We were
yeah.
purchasing Netflix for Fuller House to wait until it came out.
Yeah.
But you brought up this idea yesterday about bundling up the services. For me personally, at least, having bundles of Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, let's say that they come together for about $200 a year. I mean, doesn't that kind of repeat the same thing that cable services were doing? It's just going to bundle up stuff that we might not want to use anyways. I mean, some people just care about Spotify, and some people just care about Netflix over Hulu.
I think it depends. I mean, looking at it business wise, it would benefit if, like, let's say one service wasn't doing so well and they had really good connections some way. I don't know how this whole thing in technicality it works, but if they would be able to be like, hey, Hulu, would you be able to do like a bundle with us, and like make a deal? So for example, I brought up this example a couple days ago. What about Disney and Hulu, or Disney Plus with Hulu? Because you have this streaming service that is, it's it's Disney. You know what I mean? I can't describe it any better. It's Disney. It's more for kids or people that are super Disney fanatics who live, breathe, and would die for Disney. But then Hulu has more of those shows that are a little bit more complex, or more a little darker, or funnier comedy, but it's not really exactly for kids. So that way you could still have these two different services but for a pretty good price. I know Hulu does bundles with, besides Spotify, they also do ESPN, right?
They do ESPN Plus, Spotify, and Hulu.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be terrible, but you also have to consider that most of these companies are separate. So Netflix is nowhere near or has any stock in Hulu. And keep in mind, Disney does have portions in it has its hand in Hulu somewhere.
It does, but
Same
that's why
thing.
I had brought up that idea.
Yeah.
Now I honestly feel like Netflix is huge, because I mean, if it wasn't, it wouldn't have that much original content.
Calm down there, little buddy.
For Joey.
There's no need to bark. Continue.
But anyway, but Netflix has a lot of variety.
Uh-huh.
It has a lot of variety. It does have, I think it has, I guess Joey wants to put in his 2 words too.
All right. We're back.
Anyway.
We've taken care of the issue. We just put him to his room. That's it.
But anyway, I forgot where I left off. Oh, Netflix has a lot of shows. I think they had a lot of like of the they had How to Train Your Dragon and the DreamWorks kind of movies. They have more of a variety. It's not all just for adults. It has a wide variety of content, and I think that's why it still does very good as well. Like people still have that streaming service and have been loyal to it, even if the price keeps hiking up. And when they do that, they have to have the confidence too that they have good. And it comes back around to that they have good enough content,
original content.
Yeah.
But and I'm gonna ask you this question because I mean it's obvious if you bundle up stuff, it's gonna be another cable package, isn't it? So in other words, by bundling these things and these services together, you're basically forming another cable package. Because no business is going to want to bundle essential things. They want to throw in a service in there that maybe isn't that useful. Like let's say that Disney, ESPN, Hulu, and Spotify all came together and they said, hey, you know what? We're going to bundle Hulu, Spotify, and ESPN Plus for $15. Or you can get this service as just Hulu and Spotify. Or a service that was Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus.
Well,
I don't. You don't watch ESPN, do you?
No.
Exactly.
But I think it depends though. I know you were kind of upset that you had no way of watching all these sports, right?
No.
But like, let's say as like a family unit, you have a variety of different people that live in that household that have different different likes, different tastes in like shows, movies, whatever it may be. It would be cool if there was a way to bundle. At least with cable, you had no choice. You either had the choice of like 100 channels with like maybe 5 good channels.
You had a package that was essentially 100 channels that had Cartoon Network and Disney Channel, but not Nickelodeon.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you wanted Nickelodeon, you had to get the 300 channel package, but then it missed out on like I don't know, like fucking friggin' it's some dumb TV show or TV network that you really needed.
Yeah.
It like had one package had Cartoon Network, one package had like Nickelodeon, and the other package had Disney Channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me mad. I remember. No, that's how it cuts because I'm just like, yeah, no, this brings back terrible memories of like, Mom, can we please get this cable package? No, it's too expensive, but it has It sucks. You can't have Nickelodeon now.
So then, when you'd go back to school on Monday, like, oh, did you watch the show? No, because I don't have that channel.
And my mom didn't want to pay for Cartoon Network, so now I'm still just watching Nickelodeon, which wasn't bad, but I mean, as kids, it's like, if you didn't have everything, you're like, it sucked. But it brings along that idea of, like, packaging these different things. Sometimes you'll have these, these companies package their networks or their brands in packages that you really don't need. For $12.99, you get Hulu and Spotify. For $15.99, you get Hulu, Spotify, and ESPN. For $30, you have all of them. But what about the middle? What if I just wanted Hulu, Spotify, and Disney Plus? Sucks to suck, but it's not included in that package. We want you to spend more, or we want you to spend the necessary to then pay the extra $6.99 to have it. Things like that happen. And so for me personally, at least for me, I don't know about anyone else. I am speaking for myself. I like the way it's formatted now. I like paying my $50 for YouTube TV. As far as YouTube TV and YouTube Premium go, I wish they were bundled together. That's a separate story.
That would definitely be.
Yes, because I hate ads on YouTube videos. I used to do YouTube Premium just because I like supporting the content creators. For years I didn't watch TV. When I was in college, I never watched TV. It was just mainly on YouTube, and so YouTube Premium was the way that I would support these channels because a portion of that money goes to the creators. But it would be so much beneficial if YouTube TV and YouTube Premium were bundled together, and they'd say, hey, you know what? You don't have to have 2 separate payments. That's a separate story. But I do like this whole format of paying right now for YouTube TV, paying separately for Netflix, paying separately for Hulu, so on and so forth, because it then gives me the option to say, right now, I don't want it. Right now, I feel like Netflix is not something I really want. I'd much rather put my $12.99 and add $2 extra for HBO Max. Disney Plus is like that. Consider that Disney Plus right now has almost no original content. I'm sorry if you're a listener and you are a Disney fanatic. Disney Plus does not have the necessary original content to keep people motivated to spend the $7. They reported numbers being lost after The Mandalorian ended because no one else was going to watch anything.
Yeah.
What are they going to watch? High School Musical on repeat? And you stay quiet because you
would. 14-year-old me, or how old was I when it came out?
I don't know. All I know is that I didn't care for it.
But if I were a teen, then yeah, I would be watching it over and over again.
I didn't care for it. But besides the point
whatever.
of High School Musical.
You brought it up.
No one's going to pay it, right? And so it's funny to me because, a couple days ago on Facebook, IGN posted that Disney Plus was going to release a docuseries of The Mandalorian, an 8-part episode that's going to be released episodically, just like The Mandalorian. That's going to showcase the creation of The Mandalorian until The Mandalorian 2 comes out. Okay, sure. You got me, Disney Plus. If I wasn't paying, or if I wasn't getting it for free for another year, I would totally pay the $7.
They're just trying to milk.
They are, but they know how to target. But it gives me that choice because consider this: I don't have to pay 8 episodes over a week each. That's 2 months. I don't have to pay $14.99 to watch The Mandalorian. How about I just wait 2 months and then just pay $7.99 for the month? It gives me the option and liberty. That's the benefit of not having the bundles.
I see. Okay,
you see what I mean?
Point now.
Yeah, I don't mind paying $12.99 for Hulu and Spotify because those two services I feel like are essential for me. That's fine. And maybe if I add ESPN Plus down the line once this whole quarantine thing is over and we get sports back, I wouldn't mind paying an extra $3 to $4 to have that addition added on there. Perfectly fine. But if you bundle things like Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max and all these different things, or for example, the smaller networks like Crunchyroll, VRV, or whatever it is, if you bundle all these things together, there's no point. What if I don't care? What if I'm done watching Dragon Ball Z because I've seen it 15 times through already and I don't want to pay extra on Crunchyroll or whatever?
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
So for the consumer, but see, before that's why I was saying for business, on the business side. So imagine if you did have ESPN bundled, but you didn't really have a choice to cancel that because it's already part of the bundle. But see, ESPN can still get that money, and even when they don't have any sports right now, all they are doing, I think, is just highlights or reruns of different games or whatever. But
because it's not bundled, I had the option to cancel.
The option.
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I had said before that it was on the business side, it could probably benefit the different streaming services, but as a consumer, I can see now why it would not be a benefit to you if it were a bundle.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, once you start to use everything up the way you've been using it, you don't think about it. You have all these different streaming services and you don't even consider how much you're paying for everything. You bundle them up, you start to not even consider it even more. It's in the back of your head. Oh, well, I don't even think about how much I pay for Hulu and Spotify. The $12.99 just get taken off my account because I use it so frequent that I don't mind. But ESPN Plus, because it wasn't on that bundle and I was paying the $5 for it with no sports going on, I said, screw it. I'm just going to take it off and not use it. But if it was given to me in a bundle for $1 or $2 less, I wouldn't think about it.
That's what I'm saying.
But you know what's funny? You started off saying, I want the bundles, and then ended up saying, oh, wait, bundles are kind of a bad idea.
Okay, well, because like I said, I was talking about it in the business aspect, and not for me personally.
No, I get you. You know what? I think it's a good ending point for this episode. I feel like we've kind of extended the whole streaming service idea a little bit too long, but it is something that, we don't think about that's very constant in our lives, especially now when there's really nothing for a lot of people to do at home since you're stuck in there. You're paying for these services, and I feel like individuals now need to start considering what's important to them. What is so beneficial about having Netflix or Hulu or Spotify? Do you need it because you even use them? You need to start considering these things. I had a survey from YouTube TV not that long ago that essentially asked me, do you feel like the price is fair? Do you feel like we should include more features? Should we update our UI? Like, what should we do? And it got me thinking about, like, how are these streaming services improving? Like, do I really need these sorts of things right now? Yeah. I mean, YouTube TV for me, paying the $50, I think is a fair price. I get to have TV shows that normally I wouldn't have. And Friends right now being off of Netflix, we can watch it on TBS.
Yeah.
If I just want background noise, instead of putting music, because I maybe want to watch Food Network, I'll put Food Network in the back. You know, you start to consider the value of these streaming networks. ESPN Plus, I let go because there's no sports, and I'm not going to watch a docu-series on LAFC. To hell, not just because I don't like the freaking team, but it's because why do I care?
Yeah.
You know, or maybe a docu-series on some wrestler or something that it's just stuff that if I really wanted to be invested for, I'd pay the $5 to have it for the month, but then quit until I get my sports back.
Yeah.
So I feel like now more than ever, individuals really need to pay attention to what they're paying for and ask more of these streaming services and understand, is it worth to pay more? Is it worth to pay more to Netflix to have the 4K streaming? Is it worth to pay the yearly payment for Amazon Prime, not just for shipping, but for the TV series and original content they have? These are the questions that I feel like people need to ask. Because if we don't, then these streaming services start to take advantage of us.
Oh, yeah.
They're just going to be there.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Netflix, how they keep hiking the price.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of have to keep in mind, are consumers going to be thinking, is it worth it for me to keep it? Because like I said, I started at, I think, $6.99 a month. And now I'm like, it's
paying
doubled.
Almost double for it.
Double, yeah.
But let's be real, it's worth it.
But it's definitely worth it.
It's worth it. Like, I'm not going to say it's not, because we've been watching Sabrina and Castlevania. We've been watching Nailed It. We've been watching the Great British Baking Show, which if you have not seen, what the hell is wrong with you? The Great British Baking Show is like the most wholesome competition I've ever seen. Because no one hates each other and they're all supportive, but it's like warfare with baking.
And it's emotional.
It is emotional. All right, but I think we're going to end it there. I think we've done good. I want to thank you for coming on this podcast and being my special co-host. I feel like we got a lot of stuff out about streaming services, and why not? I mean, we talk a lot every single day. We go on our walks, and we always come up with these ideas. Why not record them, over a drink? So
I agree.
Thank you so much for coming in. Cheers.
Cheers.
Do you have anything you want to plug in? Any social media, maybe an Instagram or something?
Sure. I mean, you guys can try to follow me on Peace Love Andie for Instagram. But that's basically all I have.
I feel like most people.
I will not like to share any of my old YouTube videos that I have hidden in the inner depth of YouTube, because that's just embarrassing. But yeah, you guys can find me there.
Well, I wouldn't mind plugging in my YouTube channel because if you're listening in on Spotify or anything else, please check out the YouTube channel this podcast will be posted on. It doesn't have a condensed link because I'm still working on getting subscribers and all this other stuff, but just look up Turtlag562, TURTLAG 562. That's going to be my YouTube channel. I also stream on Twitch every now and then. I'm still trying to figure out streaming schedule, but that one does have a condensed link. It's going to be twitch.tv/Turtlag562. I will be plugging in my socials either in the Spotify description, maybe, I don't know, but definitely I will plug in my socials, my Twitter, my Instagram, down below. Instagram is going to be instagram.com/turtles with the Z Brian, or my Twitter, twitter.com/Turtlag562. I'll be updating my Twitter to feature any new work that I've been putting up. But thank you so much for listening, guys. We really do appreciate it. Cheers to you if you drank with us tonight or in the daytime. I don't judge. Drink whenever. Cheers to you guys for listening, and we will see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you.